We all worry about first impressions, meeting a new friend with broccoli in our teeth, going on a first date. But man, does that anxiety get amplified when we're writing. What is the first impression we're going to choose for thousands of readers when they meet our characters? What things do we choose to exclude? What do we choose to tell people? And how will this impact the story going forward? This is something every writer has to think about regardless of genre. And I wanted to explore the topic with a different kind of guest. So please welcome film critic and comic book artist, Nick Palodichuk. What got you into being a film critic? Because you and I met at a Comic-Con. You are also a comic book artist, so you're just everywhere.
I'm one of the founding members of the Minnesota Film Critics Association, and I was approached by my colleagues, Kyle and Matt, that started this Film Critics Association. I kind of fell into, well, maybe since I started the organization, I should do some film critics myself.
Was there something specific that led you there, or you just love movies?
We didn't have a lot when I was growing up as a kid, so we didn't have a TV and we didn't have air conditioning. So a way to escape was you go to the movie theater. You get to see movies as well as get to air conditioning. So it's been in my consciousness through my entire life. In fact, when I was a teenager through college, I worked at a video store too. So always immersed in films.
And what about the comic book artistry? Is that something you just kind of love too much to give it up? Or how'd you get there? Because the viewers aren't going to see this, but you've got this huge comic book wall behind you.
I've always collected comic books, even as a kid, so since the 80s. But making my own comic books, I've been doing that for the last 12 years. And I have my own comic book company, my own LLC, where I publish those. And an independent comic book creator as well.
So as I mentioned earlier, you are the first guest I've ever had to request a black and white film. Why don't we go ahead and just start with The Maltese Falcon?
Yes, sweetheart?
There's a girl wants to see you. Her name's Wonderly.
Customer?
I guess so. You'll want to see her anyway. She's a knockout.
Sure in, Effie, darling. Sure in.
Will you come in, Miss Wonderly? Thank you.
Won't you sit down, Miss Wonderly?
Thank you. I inquired at the hotel for the name of a reliable private detective. They mentioned yours.
Suppose you tell me about it from the very beginning.
I'm from New York.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to find my sister. I have reason to believe that she's here in San Francisco with a man by the name of Thursby, Floyd Thursby. I don't know where she met him. We've never been as close as sisters ought to be. If we had, perhaps Corinne would have told me that she was planning on running away with him. Mother and father in Honolulu would kill him. I've got to find her before they get back home. They're coming home the first of the month.
You've had word of your sister?
A letter from her about 2 weeks ago. It said nothing except that she was all right. I sent her a telegram begging her to come home. I sent it to general delivery here. That was the only address she gave me. I waited a week and no answer came, so I decided to come out here myself. I wrote her that I was coming. I shouldn't have done that, should I?
Oh, it's not always easy to know what to do. You haven't found her?
No. I told her in my letter that I'd be at the St. Mark and for her to meet me there. I waited 3 whole days. She didn't come, didn't even send a message. It was horrible, waiting. I sent her another letter to general delivery. Yesterday afternoon, I went to the post office. Corinne didn't call for her mail, but Floyd Thursby did. He wouldn't tell me where Corinne was. He said she didn't want to see me. I can't believe that. He promised to bring her to the hotel if she'd come this evening. He said he knew she wouldn't. He promised to come himself if she didn't.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, it's all right, Miles. Come in. Miss Wonderly, my partner, Miles Archer. Miss Wonderly's sister ran away from New York with a fellow named Floyd Thursby. They're here in San Francisco. Miss Wonderly has seen Thursby and has a date to meet him tonight. Maybe he'll bring the sister with him. The chances are he won't. Miss Wonderly wants us to find the sister, get her away from him, and back home. Right?
Yes.
Now, it's simply a matter of having a man at the hotel this evening to shadow him when he leads us to your sister. If, after we found her, she still doesn't want to leave him, well, we have ways of managing that.
Yeah.
Oh, but you must be careful. I'm deathly afraid of him. What he might do. She's so young, and he's bringing her here from New York is such a serious... Mightn't he do something to her?
I'll just leave that to us. We'll know how to handle him.
Oh, but I want you to know he's a dangerous man. I honestly don't think he'd stop at anything. I don't think he'd hesitate to kill Corinne if he thought it would save him.
Could he cover up by marrying her?
He has a wife and 3 children in England.
Yes, they usually do, though not always in England. What's he look like?
He has dark hair and thick, bushy eyebrows. He talks in a loud, blustery manner. He gives the impression of being a violent person. He was wearing a light gray suit and a gray hat when I saw him this morning.
What's he do for a living?
I haven't the faintest idea.
What time's he coming to see you?
After 8 o'clock.
All right, Miss Wonderly. We'll have a man there.
I'll look after it myself.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yes. Will that be enough? Thank you.
Not at all. Oh, it'll help some if you meet Thursby in the lobby.
I will.
Hey, you don't have to look for me. I'll see you, all right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
You're right enough. They have brothers in her bag.
What do you think of her?
Oh, she's sweet. Maybe you saw her first, Sam, but I spoke first.
You got brains.
Usually when I write main characters, I think about the magnetism of a main character, that people are going to them, are they drawn to them, and why are they needed to be the center. Here you have Sam Spade, the main character. He's at his desk, but everybody's coming towards him. When you craft a main character, you have to understand that people are drawn to them, metaphorically and literally. How do they come to them first before the main character goes to anybody else?
The thing I definitely noticed in the beginning is how the characters are reacting to him gives us so much exposition. The assistant comes up and she says, she might be a client, but you're still going to want to see her because she's quite pretty. It's like, okay, she says it with a good humor. She doesn't look offended. She doesn't look irritated. So they have a good rapport, but I'm also learning that she's kind of learned his tricks after a while. Something else I'm noticing is he's very customer service orientated.
Right. Being a private detective, Sam Spade's a little more diplomatic when he negotiates with people. He's more of navigating the whole scene with us. So another point of main character is we're untangling the mystery as he is. It's kind of what I call the barometer character. It's not really an academic term, but it's somebody that your emotions kind of match. So when he's not sure things, we aren't. When he figured things out, we do. Not to mention how he's shot as a main character. He's dominating the scenes throughout the whole movie.
Right.
That's an interesting point, too.
I just did a panel with a bunch of guests talking about masculinity and how it's kind of changed in presentation over the ages. And there is definitely a difference in how this is shot versus how even Captain America is shot. He is definitely taking a huge presence even before the action starts. Looking at just that one scene, what made you pick this particular clip and say, this is how you introduce a character?
Well, it's the pulp narrative, how you get things across very fast, a lot in very little time. So within just a few minutes of Miss Wonderly coming into his office, you understand his posture, his stance, not to mention his weariness. He's not a fancy detective. He's kind of a common man's detective. Not to mention he's a little more experienced because she's explaining this story. He's not really buying it, but she's kind of appealing to him that he's going to catch on to it. And then she pays him enough to go on to this. Yeah,
just kind of introducing a lot of factors quickly and disguising them, if you will, is what I've noticed, because they disguise it with first the client comes in. She's introducing the mystery itself, the hook, if you will. So, of course, your audience is, going to be paying attention, going, okay, so what's the mystery about? Right. And during that time, we're getting those little tiny bits of subtext.
And especially when you pulp right, you have to do this quickly. You can't just do pages and pages of just description. So you can just probably maybe have a few more paragraphs or a few words of descriptions and keep the pace going. You just have to write fast to get the details quick down. You can't be elaborate with your details to keep the audience appeal. So even when you have talking head scenes, you have to keep this appealing and interested. In a book, you can do pages of dialogue and the dialogue will keep you going. But when you're doing a movie, you have to know how you're just having a talking heads, how you maintain an interest in it visually.
No, I see that. And even when you say, in a book, you can have pages of dialogue, you can, but there still needs to be conflict, right? If I'm talking about, I went to the supermarket and got oatmeal, my husband's eyes start glazing over. No one cares. The simple truth is, if you do that in your book, your reader cares even less because they don't necessarily like you as a person.
Right. It's the analogy of if you're bored writing it, then people are going to be bored reading it.
Moving right along here, because you did select a second classic film. So let's go ahead and take a look at Point Blank.
1962. 3 men dug their way out of the cell block using small teaspoons. They left dummies, which they had created in their cells, and managed to get off the island. They have never been heard of since.
How did you make it, Walker?
In 1946, the historic Battle of Alcatraz took place. 2 convicts had managed to overpower their guards and took over the main cell block, releasing those prisoners still in their cells. They had 9 hostages. During the 2 days of siege, the Coast Guard,
Using the rock
prison launch, and the San Francisco police boat
for a
circled the
drop.
island, and a detachment
Fuzz.
of Marines guarded the prisoners still in the
I'm Yost.
relegation yard. With the
Are
use
you
of
making a
demolition
charge?
bombs and
No,
anti-tank
no.
the 3 leaders of the
I want
forced
something
into a
else.
utility corridor, the police riddled with rifle and shotgun fire. After the 48-hour break, 2 officers and 3 prisoners were dead. 1 prisoner and 14 officers
I want the
wounded.
organization.
Excuse me. The last escaped attempt from Alcatraz.
Your friend Reese?
For all the prisoners were taken off the island.
He's in the big time now.
Come on, dear. The man found more
Suits.
dead than alive on the rock point.
Penthouses.
He was found clinging to a tiny
He bought his way back in. With the money he stole from you.
None were ever heard from again, and all indications point to their being swept with the tide out through the Golden Gate to a watery grave. Alcatraz, often called the Rock, was actually
93,000, wasn't it?
93.
by a man
93.
who obtained it
You want
from
Reese?
the governor of California.
And I want the organization.
Workman was supposed to establish a light
You understand?
on the island to afford protection to the ships and small vessels.
I'm going to help you. And you're going to help me.
In the light, and the island was eventually sold to a legal representative.
That's your wife's
of the
address in
United
Los
States
Angeles.
For the sum of $5,000 in 1849.
Reese lives there, too.
In 1854, the United States Army began to fortify Alcatraz.
This is another one of my favorite movies. It's very fluid. It's very dreamlike quality. Their narrative is not very linear. And the cutscenes kind of just like that. You don't know where it ends and when it begins. And you have the lead character. His name is just Hunter. You don't know if it's his last name or it's his first name, but people just regard him as Hunter. But you don't get much of a backstory with him. And not to mention, he doesn't say a lot. This is one of the interesting things that the main character has the least amount of dialogue in the movie than anybody else. So you can see even this scene, the other person's doing a lot more dialogue than he is. And it gives that more of that ominous ambiguity. Even though you have a main character, it doesn't have to dominate all the sceneries like Sam Spade does, or have all the dialogue, and still be very interesting and compelling at the same time.
You seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are.
Immediately, the first thing I find out is that he's being accused of having broken out of Alcatraz. And yet he's on a tour boat about it. I'm like, okay, I already have a question. Why are you on that tour boat? It opened, much like Maltese Falcon, actually, it opened with making me ask questions about the character while simultaneously getting to know him.
You're not really going to get the answers to, right? Like, how did he know these guys, and what would he do before? Obviously, he's not living the social norms life. He's a criminal, and that brings up another emphasis, both with this movie and with the Maltese Falcon. Our main characters are not heroic like Captain America or Spider-Man. They're just trying to correct things that went against them.
No, I think there's something to be said for that, because there's been this push, and I don't know if it's because of social media or what, but there's been this push that you have to have a relatable protagonist. And I'm just like, that is the biggest pile of bullshit I have ever heard. Otherwise, Gone Girl would not be nearly as popular as it is, because neither of those characters are particularly relatable or likable, but they are understandable.
Yeah, and it kind of leads into like motivations. You understand right away the motivation is revenge. And not to mention with Sam Spade, the motivation is untangle a mystery.
Yeah, doing my job. And that's one thing, like, I think we've lost in modern media where they set up these great fantasy movies, fantastic films, and they just don't stick the landing. And it's usually because their character arc falls apart because they try to make their character likable. And I miss characters that have a dark problem, that have issues, that have something compelling to watch. Because frankly, if I wanted to watch a movie about myself, I've got a cell phone for that. I'm good.
Yeah, dark protagonist. Necessarily. Much like Lee Marvin, we understand that he's not a good guy. Like, he's not somebody that we should look up to, but he's definitely something that even the bad guys are kind of afraid of. How he's crafted as a character, he's constantly moving, even when the other people aren't. And he's constantly absorbing the scene of not only what other people are doing, but what are their reactions to things. And that's one of the things I think is interesting about writing is make sure you get the other characters' reactions to what is happening, occurring, as well as not just make sure the action is detailed.
No, and you bring up a good point, because we talked already about subtext with Maltese Falcon. Well, our main character in this particular scene, he does not talk that much. He's pretty quiet. And because of that, he kind of becomes almost an audience sponge where we're more able to absorb how people are responding to him. The fact that he's being quiet. He gets that piece of paper with his, I believe it was his wife's address, and just walks off. Doesn't say anything, doesn't say thank you, doesn't agree with the terms and conditions. You don't know if he's going to, continue to associate with this person. Just walks off, clips down a hallway, and shoots a mattress.
He's actually more like a force than a human.
Yeah, that was very true.
In fact, he's actually embracing that analogy of being a force and almost losing his humanity to his drive. And that's the other thing. You want to make your characters, what is their compelling? What is their obsession? That also kind of dials down everything else afterwards. Yeah,
I agree. Again, it comes down to when you're introducing that character, first impressions matter, right? We talk about this with job interviews in our world. We talk about this with meeting a new friend, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to writing, that first impression is also what's going to determine whether or not they want to keep flipping through your 200 pages of book. Why do I care? That is a big question that we need to ask. Why do I care? So if you were making a suggestion on, hey, this is something that you who are writing on a page can take away from, what do you think that would be?
We understand just through his gestures, motions, and everything, there is no subtlety to him. And I think sometimes when you're crafting a character, write down what they're not first before what they are. And it's almost like you want to decipher a crime scene. What is not there before you put what is there. It's kind of what Sherlock Holmes says, science of deduction. So we know he's not subtle. He's kind of an outlaw too. Doesn't really obey laws as well. Not to mention there is no morality to him.
And he's not terribly expressive. His face is not terribly emotive. It's just his muscle movements that are emotive, because he is a man of action, is how I take that.
Exactly. You got it.
All right. And finally, after all the clips that you chose, we get to pick one of mine with Brendan Fraser's comeback film, The Whale.
Like we discussed yesterday, I really want you all to focus on topic sentences more. Too many of you are rushing into examples in your body paragraphs. It'd be good for everyone to review the paragraph structure PDF I sent you a few weeks ago. I know these rules can feel constraining, but remember, the point of this course is to learn how to write clearly and persuasively. That's how you can effectively communicate your ideas. Chris, I imagine that was supposed to be a private chat that you sent to the whole class. Well done. And yes, the camera on my laptop still doesn't work. Believe me, you're not missing much. Oh, and for those of you who still haven't given me paper 3, I need it by Wednesday. No exceptions. And remember, the more you revise these essays, the better. The more you change, chances are you'll express your thoughts and ideas more clearly and persuasively. Moby Dick in the amazing book, Moby Dick. Liz! Just use your key. Open the door.
Oh my god.
Who are you?
Gosh, are you okay? Should I call an ambulance? I should call an
Read this to me.
Do you have a phone? My phone's dead. I need to...
Please just read it.
Okay. Okay. Oh! In the amazing book Moby Dick by the author Herman Melville, the author recounts the story of being at sea. In the first part of his book, the author, calling himself Ishmael, is in a small seaside town. He's sharing a bed with a man named Kick. What is this? Why am I reading this?
I need it, Eddie. Okay.
And I felt saddest of all when I read the boring chapters that were only descriptions of whales, because I knew that the author was just trying to save us from his own sad story.
Sad story.
Just for a little while.
Just for a little while.
This book made me think about my own life, and then it made me feel glad for him. Did that help? Look, do you have a phone? My phone's dead. I need to call an ambulance. You need help.
I don't go to hospitals.
I can't help you. I
don't go to hospitals. I'm sorry. You can go. Thank you for reading that to me.
Are you sure you're okay?
I'm sorry, who are you?
Are you acquainted with the gospel of Jesus Christ?
What?
I'm sharing Christ's message of love, and I'm showing people.
Like, I should call my friend. She's a nurse. She takes care of me.
Yeah.
So you actually hadn't seen The Whale. This was one I got to bully you into watching.
Yeah, I've only seen bits of it. This is before I was actually fleshing out my reviews, but actually watching this movie, it has what things are required. The magnetism. Why are people coming to the main character? Well, he's abusing his body so much that people come to him. He doesn't have to put the effort to go to anybody else. Not to mention this character in The Whale, not necessarily a good person. We're talking about main characters not being heroic. He's not being heroic at all, even though he's kind of a kind person. He has kind of, you feel sorry for him, but he also put himself in the position of, and metaphorically, his own prison.
He's empathetic, but he's self-sabotaging. And that's something you see right away from the fact that he, later on after this scene, he talks to a friend. He's like, I'm not going to a hospital, even though she's like, you will die. That is the end of this conversation. You will die. But even just in the opening, before she says that to him, we can see he's in pain. I mean, he's introduced in a very vulnerable, frankly, kind of ugly position.
There's no power. He really doesn't have power.
Yeah, he doesn't have any power, but also it's like they introduce him taking care of business and giving himself a heart attack and suddenly having to rely on this total stranger to help him. And instead of saying, call 911, get my friend who's a nurse, he says, read an essay to me. And right there, we see his priorities. And that's where I just love this scene so much, is like, read this essay. No, read this essay to me. It's like, what the hell? Why do you care about that right now?
It's almost like an addiction. We're talking about his abuse of his body, almost like an addiction, because then you don't have to treat yourself, and treating yourself acknowledges that you have a problem, right?
Right. We're constantly asking, why does he want to go to hospital? Is this just because he's abusive to himself? Because it is clear that he's on a path of self-destruction.
Yep.
Then we meet his daughter, and we find out he's got problems from his love life, but he's also got problems from what he did to his own kid.
Yeah.
And it's not till later we realize this is a form of repentance for him, because he's also saving money for her, refusing to go to the doctor because, no, that's her money, not my money, because I've already screwed up.
In his warped view, he's thinking he's doing something heroic. And it's really not necessary. It's really not. Not saving yourself so you have money to give away to a daughter that you abandoned for another relationship.
Right.
We can follow. We don't see the logic, but for him, his character, he thinks it's logical, but he's trapped. We also talked about a lot that was stories. Mm-hmm. You're not helping yourself, but he built this prison for himself.
Yeah, with every Milky Way he could. Poor guy. And I don't say that to be glib. I've got family members with eating disorders, so it's not to be glib. We all have those things we use to cope, and unfortunately, some of us take it far too far. There's no other way of saying that.
Right. We're talking about you're coping because you're hurting, but also your coping mechanism is very destructive. That you're closing the environment. You're trapping yourself. Every title of a story can be called Trapped. Really.
Yeah. I would say definitely the most emotional ones. It's all about what you have told your head and how much that is impacting what you see when you look at your eyeballs. you being a film critic and coming into this brand new, what's something you would say, again, just that one scene, that opening scene where he's so vulnerable and then has to rely on this stranger, what would you say, hey, take that, use that? That's a good lesson.
He's manufacturing this delusion of empowerment, that he's trying to make himself a force that everybody can be drawn to, but it's a warped sense of it. And not to mention, he's completely vulnerable to the surroundings that he is manufactured through his mistakes in life, his major errors, but also of his reasonings for Wyatt. Because in essence, I don't think he believes nobody will want to see me. Why don't I just make myself where people come to see me rather than I go to them? It's that delusion that you're self-contained. He's not. He needs a support system.
Yeah. And that's one thing, like, you start this movie and like someone's going to type something about fat shaming as I say this, go for it, don't care, have fun. But like, you pick this movie up and there'd be so many movies where they actually lose weight and they actually live. And it's like, no, this is not that movie. They make it very clear. They set the theme, they set the darkness, the drab colors, everything right from the get-go. You know you're in for something very painful with this movie. He knows this is killing him. No one could get that big and not think it's killing them.
Right. That's the only out that he has ever surmised.
So, I mean, we've talked about some very dark things during this video. We've talked about, just the stoic man who doesn't say a lot and lets everyone else say what they need to say. We've talked about this character who's abusing himself. And then we've talked about the man who is actually quite dapper and great with customer service. For all my guests, I like to ask them one thing, which is if you had a brand new writer, doesn't matter if it's a screenplay writer, book writer, or comic book writer, just someone who's making characters and you're trying to help them understand this. It sounds like your biggest point of advice would be, why are they the main character in the first place? But it's almost like thinking your main character is the center of that solar system. You need to think of everyone else as surrounding them in that gravitational pull. Why does it actually work? How does it function?
Exactly. Right. You did much better than I did.
Well, I've been listening to you say gravitational pull. I was like, hey, anyway, thank you so much. This is a fun conversation. I love how it's a different take. Cause I normally have prose writers. So I love having a comic book artist and film critic on here because you just have such a different way of analyzing this than my usual guests. Right. Speaking of which, where can people find your comic books, your film criticism? Where can they find you?
Well, you can find my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you really find podcasts. We're on Spotify, Podbean, and all those. And you can find my film reviews at St. Paul Filmcast Reviews, very simply. If you find one, you can definitely find the other.
And what about your comic book? I know you got comic books out. Come on.
All right. I don't have a website where you can order them, but if you see me at the next Comic Cons, I do sell my comic books there. Mind's Eye Comics in Burnsville has a couple of my comics on the shelves if you want to check them out.
Well, thank you again so much for coming on. All right.
Well, thank you very much. This is actually wonderful. I don't get the opportunity to talk about story structure. And thank you very much, Ms. Drake, for giving me the opportunity. I had an absolute blast.
Thank you again to my guest, Nick Palodichuk. As per usual, all the links will be down below. But now I'd like to hear from you guys. What makes a good character entrance? What makes it memorable? And what's your absolute favorite character introduction? I'd love to hear your thoughts and have that lively discussion down below. Don't forget, if you like these video essays and interviews, please make sure that you are commenting, liking, and subscribing. The channel's still growing, even over on Spotify and Rumble, and I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to support myself, Joe Prosit, and many other authors, please check out Anthology of Horror, Yultide Terror. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and happy writing.